727 back at you with another video. Yes, I'm wearing a hoodie, but if you can see it, there's snow on the ground. So it's a little brisk out here today. But this video is going to be about the red Camaro, my 1990 Camaro. So, as you know, the engine in it developed a problem. I'll go over more about that. But right now we're about to take the intake off, which has weird little 12-point bolts on it that I don't really like on this. So whenever it comes to rebuilding her, we're going to put the bolts on there. 6-point instead of 12 points, I believe it's got. So let's get into it. I already have everything else taken off, carburetor, hoses, and it turned out it did not have a thermostat, so I was just running an open system. But these bolts right here, 12 bolts, don't really recommend using them because they're easy to round off the bolt heads and good stuff like that, you know, stuff you don't want to happen. So I'm gonna put this camera down. We're gonna go more about talking about what happened to the car. And yes, there's a hose in the way, but best angle to try and get so you guys can see what I'm doing. So what happened was, after I did the posi swap, I got 1.6 ratio rocker arms because why not? Put them on, it was running good, did everything right, set valve flash, stuff like that. So whenever, I think about 2 days went by, running good, took on a back road, started driving, you know, just for a cruise, not really getting on it. And then I came to a stop and noticed that, you know, she was idling a little more radical than she should. So I was like, okay, that's pretty weird. Got onto the highway and she sounded like she was down on a couple cylinders. I mean, extremely bad. Like, she was loping to the point where you thought I would have had a big cam in here. But she obviously doesn't, which I don't know what she has. Which is another reason why we're taking this intake off, to assess the damage. Because right now, I'm just assuming it's a flat tappet cam, I know that for a fact. It doesn't have those lifter guides on there for a roller. But I want to find out, because this is I got the block number on the back, which isn't really specific at this point. It just says that the block is a 96 or 97 on up to a 95 or 6. Which, believe it or not, they still put flat tappets in the 350s. So I want to find out if this is a roller block, which I'll go over more in detail, or if it's just a flat tappet block with flat tappet cam. So I believe that it wore a lobe off, which is causing, you know, the misfiring, dead cylinders, and whatnot. So we're going to find out. I need 14 millimeter, and then because they have all of these 12-point bolts, but only one of them is a 6-point. So I gotta get a socket for it. Taking this last bolt off, and then we'll find out the truth about this engine. Because so one of the aspects of the build for this car is it's going to get new heads, because the heads are a TBI, which are okay flowing, but really not good for performance aspect or higher RPM because of the swirl port design they have in the heads. So intake's going to be changed for the build. Now, I'm not going to spoil things yet, but the heads are going to be changed. Now with the heads, I'm going to have to change the intake. So I need to find out if this block is a roller block, so then I can take parts off the engine I'm getting to build this one. So if it's a roller, all my parts will swap over. If not, I might just go with the other engine and build that, just because of machining costs to have this 355 accommodate for the roller. So at this point, it's like a budget build, but I ain't going to be building it for quite a bit. So got all the bolts out, about to take the intake off, and it's on there tight, of course. So far on there, will come off. When in doubt, pry bar it out. Go off that ledge by the alternator. Try and pry it off here. Alright. Got her busted free. Oh! Luck of the draw. So, we in fact, yes, I did not drain the fluids out of it. Alright, so, where's he, that bore at? What the heck kind of gaskets are those? But, they didn't even put caulking on the side right here. Alrighty. So yeah, I know it's in the car, I know this isn't what should be done, but just for the peace of mind of knowing what's going on with this engine, I wanted to take it off, see what I gotta deal with, see what kind of parts I need, and then collaborate the build from there. But yeah, what we have here is where that lifter hole is, that was a bent push rod, and right here, that was the rocker. It has a locking it's a locking rocker, so that nut has a hex head in it that locks the position on that nut so it won't back off. Well, what happened was when I took the valve covers off to see what was wrong, that whole rocker was off the push rod and hanging right over here, and who knows what land. So I'm gonna try to clean out these holes, which these 3 holes right here indicate that it is a roller block. So I don't know if the person before me decided to go hydraulic tappet, which is a cheaper route, and there's not really much you got to do except get longer push rods. So hydraulic tappets pretty much are a cheaper way to do a build. Roller are more, they're easier on a cam, because the roller is actually just gliding over the lobes and keeping the lobes safe. As where, got my good rad clean out those holes. So as a hydraulic flat tappet, they're more crucial to the seating process, the wear-in process of the cam. Now what I mean by that is, so, let me see. So, the mating process. So whenever you first put the cam in, you first start it up. The wear-in process, you have to rev up and down from 2 grand to 25. For the lifters, because they're flat, they get an indentation of the cam lobe. That's wearing, that's the crucial part of it, because oil these days do not include zinc, which flat tappets need to have a safe wear-in process. As roller tappets, which have a little roller on the end of the lifter, you don't need any of that. You don't have to have any adjustments to the lifters ever so often. They're pretty much set in stone. Now, granted, there are a few instances where You might have to tighten them up a little bit, readjust them, but very rarely. So that's what I want this engine to be. I want it to be a roller cam. So got to make sure that those 3 little standoffs have a thread in them, and if they do, I'm golden. I can do whatever I want with this, because my other engine I'm getting for the parts for this one is a roller, so I can just swap parts over. So let me clean this out, and I'll be back to show you guys if it's threaded. Alright, so I got it cleaned it out enough on this one galley, or this one standoff, and it's got threads in it. So that's really good for the build. It means just swap parts over, put lifter guides on them, and just get a cam. So my biggest fear has been kicked to the curb. It's not a stock hydraulic flat tappet cam. It was a roller at some point. So the intake on it was a carbureted standard bolt pattern and angle, because there are 2 different angles for early 350s. The intake was for carbureted. It did its job. Time to go full race car on this. Now, we're going to do race car things eventually, but that was just the hugest thing I needed to find out. That I just needed to get out of my mind to make sure it was or was not the block I needed. So next thing, I don't know how soon or whenever, but going to take the engine out, take the heads off, find out if it is a 355, because I'm only going off what the people say that I got it from, what it was. But with the amount of torque that it produced by just easily spinning these 15s, yes, they're 15s, but you got to think about it like this. It's 15s, but it equals out to a 16, because Will's Camaro is right there, and it's got 16s, and the only difference is like maybe like a pinky width. So look at these 2 rocks. So that's pretty much it for this video, just discovering whether or not we have a roller block or an original flat tappet. So I know I've been all over the place with what I've been saying, but I want to set in stone this. 87 to 95, Chevy came out with 2 different designs, a flat tappet and a hydraulic roller, that were incorporated in truck onlys. The passenger cars, Camaros, Impalas, I think, or Monte Carlos. Not Impalas, Monte Carlos. That had the 350s were hydraulic rollers. So passenger cars had the hydraulic rollers. Flat tappets came in the trucks, throttle body injection. So that's the 2 things you want to look for if you're doing your own build. Make sure if you want a roller, go towards a 86 to 95 350 in a passenger car. Now, what I've heard discussion about was whether or not the truck engines, depending on 1500, 2500, the blocks were already made for rollers, which means I had the those 3 standoffs threaded already or whatnot. So I think I might have gotten lucky on this, because the engine code on the back said it was from a 86 to 97. The head said it was a TBI truck head. So I'm under the assumption it came out of a truck. So I'm very fortunate that it had those threaded standoffs. But just remember, if you're doing your own build, I'm doing it on a budget. If you're doing it on a budget, make sure to like and subscribe. Follow me at FuelUp727. And just remember those tips. And good luck, racers.